You ever feel like you're playing a never-ending game of digital whack-a-mole? A new threat pops up, you knock it down, and two more appear. You're not alone. But what if I told you there's a way to get ahead of the game, to move from that constant chaos to, well, some clarity? Today we are diving deep into systems security, and by the end of this, you're going to have a whole new way to think about digital safety. Overwhelmed by ever-changing new attacks? You know, that's not just a phrase I made up. It's a direct quote from security experts. And man, does it capture the feeling, right? It seems like every single day there's a new headline about some massive data breach or a crazy new kind of malware. It is exhausting, and it is so easy to feel like you're always one step behind, just reacting to the next fire. But here's the thing. What if we could just shift our perspective? Instead of chasing down every new threat that pops up, what if we could build a solid foundation? A foundation that protects us even from the stuff we don't see coming. See, the key isn't to memorize every attack out there. No way. It's about adopting a structured approach, a clear roadmap for actually managing risk. And that roadmap, that foundation we're talking about, it's all built on one core concept: systems security. I want you to think of it like the architectural blueprint for your own digital fortress. It's the bedrock, the very ground on which we're going to build a smart, logical, and effective defense. So what is it really? Well, at its heart, system security boils down to one simple thing: protecting your assets. It's not about building some giant, impenetrable wall around absolutely everything. That's impossible. It's about figuring out what's actually valuable and focusing your energy on protecting that. It's all about smart, targeted protection. Okay, so when we say assets, what are we really talking about? Well, it breaks down into three main buckets. First, you've got the hardware. That's your physical stuff, your computers, your servers. Second is the software, all the programs and code that make that hardware do useful things. And finally, and this is the big one, the crown jewel, the data. The information that your entire digital life or your business is built on. All right, so we've identified our crown jewels, our hardware, software, and data. Now for the million-dollar question. How in the world do we protect them? This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we stop talking about the problem and start building an actual, actionable plan. And it's not guesswork, not at all. It's a really disciplined three-step process. Step one, you have to value your assets. Look, not everything is equally important. So what's your most critical stuff? Step two, identify the threats. Who or what could actually cause harm to those specific things you just prioritized? And step three, analyze the risk. And this means you're looking at the hard numbers, the quantitative stuff, but also the bigger picture, the qualitative side, to truly understand what could happen if things go wrong. Now, let's stick with that second step for a minute, identifying threats, because it's a huge one. And it's not just about finding bugs in your software. It is about understanding the people behind the attacks. You've got to remember, every threat has a motive. And the list of who might be coming after you is, well, it's pretty varied. You've got your cybercriminals who are just in it for the money. Then you have incredibly sophisticated nation-states trying to steal secrets. You've got malicious insiders, and we are definitely going to circle back to them. And you even have what they call script kiddies, amateurs using pre-made tools. But trust me, they can still cause a world of hurt. And, you know, threats don't always come from where you'd expect. Think about this. You build this gorgeous, complex website to wow your customers. But to make it work, you pulled in code from dozens of other places, these third-party software libraries. Well, every single one of those is a potential door that you've just left unlocked, a threat you might not have even thought about. This brings us to a really, really important point. When we hear security threat, what do we picture? Probably some hacker in a dark room, right? But the reality, the actual landscape of threats is so much bigger and more complex than that. Now, check this out. This is where it gets really eye-opening. When you actually break down where threats come from, a surprising picture starts to form. Technology, you know, your classic IT attacks, software bugs, that's a big slice of the pie, for sure, about 40%. But look at this. People, both outside and inside an organization, make up a massive 35% of all threats. And then you've got nature, floods, fires, that kind of thing, making up the last 25%. And this, right here, is the critical blind spot. Most organizations, most people, pour all their time and money into preparing for just two things: natural disasters, and IT attacks. They're ready for the hurricane, and they're ready for the hacker. But in doing so, they completely miss the threat that accounts for a whopping 35% of their risk, a threat that is already inside the building. And that leads us to what is, frankly, the most complicated and tricky category of them all, the danger that comes from within, the insider threat. The key difference here, the whole ballgame, is access. We spend so much energy building these digital walls and firewalls to keep outsiders out, but an internal threat? They don't need to break down the door. They already have the keys. We're talking about trusted people with legitimate access. And it could be a disgruntled employee trying to cause harm, or it could just be an honest mistake, a simple human error that accidentally exposes everything. This quote from our source material just nails it. A real structured security plan has to see the whole picture. You can't just build a strong wall around the outside. You absolutely have to consider the potential harm that can come from the trusted people on the inside. And that leaves us with one last question to really think about. After all of this, when you look at your own digital world, what do you think is the bigger risk? A single vulnerable line of code hidden somewhere in an application, or the person sitting at the keyboard? The answer, as you can probably guess, isn't so simple. And understanding that complexity, that's the real first step toward being secure.